you grow up in this day and age in this country, you turn your tap on and you expect that clean water will come out. And for the most part, that is true, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it always will be that way. Most people don't give very much thought as to where their water comes from, what journey it took to get from whatever source to their tap.
The watershed is the land that water flows either across or under on its way to a stream, river, or lake. The source of the creek is at Ross Commons, which is right on the side of the Blue Mountain, also known as Kittatinny Ridge. And the end of the stream is in Palmerton, right on the Lehigh River.
Back in about the year 2002, 2003, we became aware of the fact that there was a developer who wanted to put a racetrack for enthusiasts of fancy sports cars in the Kunkletown area. And we felt that while this might be a nice idea for some people, if you're into that kind of thing, this was not the place for it. This is a very rural setting. It's basically fairly pristine habitat, especially considering all the development that's going on in the area. And to put this track in there and all the ramifications of what it would take to alter the mountainside to put the track in and the traffic in and out and just the increased noise from the track. There was a bunch of neighbors who got together and said, we don't want to do this here. This is not the right place for this. We don't want this here. And Blue Mountain Preservation Association was formed out of that.
Back in the early 20th century, a zinc smelter was in operation in the town of Palmerton, right on Aquashicola Creek, and this factory was unregulated. What they did was they refined zinc to be used for other purposes, but consequently the side of the mountain got deforested, and there was a huge amount of heavy metals that were put into the soil and into the water. And once the mountain was stripped of any kind of vegetation, there was nothing left to hold the soil. So the soil would just wash down into the creek on a heavy rain or a snow melt. And this damage didn't take very long to do, but around probably the early 2000s, efforts were made to try and bring the mountain back to where it was. Factories can pollute all they want, and there's no consequences, and we the citizens wind up picking up the tab for it down the road. But it shouldn't have happened in the first place. That's what regulations are for, and agencies need to get down with their own regulations and enforce them.
So the Lenape who remain in this area today, the Lenape Nation of Pennsylvania, we remain caretakers of our land. And in this time of what we refer to as the Fourth Crow, which is a time of coming out again, bringing things full circle, working with the people who live up and down the Delaware River and along the other waterways, to caretake for the land and for each other. In 2002, we decided to make some of the relationships that we had formed with conservancies who were working as caretakers on the river and the waterways. We decided to make that a little bit more formal agreement, and we actually initiated a treaty called the Treaty of Renewed Friendship.
Well, we felt it was important for us to sign on to this treaty because it links us with other conservation-minded groups, and we kind of had the same goal in mind, and that is keeping our water quality very high, keeping each other aware of threats to the watersheds, which in the long run are threats to all of us, not just to the watershed.
One of the sayings that I often like to quote is that human beings are not the only species on this planet, but we tend to act that way. We need to be aware that our impacts to the environment affect all other species, animal and plant. For example, if we fill in a wetland, we have not only removed the filter that purifies our own drinking water, but we also have destroyed the water and food source and habitat for many other species. Many people are too detached, and they tend to forget that we are all connected in this web of life on the planet.